This is sort of a shameless plug, but it's also true. Everything we're going to walk through in this video, the Unpinned course teaches you to a much greater extent and in more detail. But that said, we're going to give you the frameworks for how to walk into a wine store and pick the right-ish wine. All right, let's move. Now, when we're talking about finding the right wine, we really mean the right-ish wine. This is because it's impossible to know exactly what you're going to get from a bottle until you've actually opened it. And this is true even if you've had the bottle before. The same wine, same producer, same vintage, same wine can taste different based on when you're opening it. And those differences can be due to how the wine was stored or when you're drinking it. It can even be caused by what mood you're in or whether or not you even believe these things. If that sounds mystical, try to swallow this fun fact. Even the moon can impact your wine. Now, I know it sounds a little bit wacky, but the biodynamic calendar offers insights into how the moon can impact your wine and when you might want to open it. And if you feel like that sounds overreaching, the moon impacts even the oceans, the largest body of water on our planet. All that aside, all we can do is increase your chances of finding a wine that you're gonna like. And that's why I say right-ish instead of right. The other reason why I say right-ish is because it depends a lot on the context. Are you buying a wine for every day? Are you buying a wine for special occasions? Are you buying a wine for aging under your bed that you want to drink way later? The reason you're buying a wine will have a big impact on what wine you want to buy. And so we can't cover it all at once, but I'm going to give you a toolkit that you can use when you're going out to shop for wine. Let's briefly touch on the where before we get to the what. The best place to buy wines are smaller, independent wine stores. Today, I'm at Elemental Spirits Co. in one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in Atlanta. They have a distinct focus on the alternative and underrepresented, which is something I really love. With that said, don't buy your wine here or here. Definitely not here. Because of everything you've probably heard me talk about before, from how there are no ingredients listed on a wine bottle to the insane amount of regulation there is in selling alcohol, especially in the United States, to how difficult it is for consumers to really feel confident in the wines that they're buying, it's a bit of a leap of faith to open a small wine store. And so I really believe we should be supporting places like this because they're important to make sure that we can find good wines at reasonable prices. Also, those places are the ones that are going to have the more interesting wines. Keeping all these things in mind, let's dive headfirst into the framework. The first thing you want to start with is old versus new. And I'm not talking about old world or new world. I'm talking about, do you want something you've had before or do you want to try something new? So let's start with something you've had before. If you want the exact same thing, that's easy. Just go find it, buy it, and you're done. If you want something similar, a tool you can use is the appellation system, as well as the varietal. So varietals can often be vinified in ways that are quite similar, and that's especially the case if you're buying wines from the same appellation. If you don't know what an appellation is, it's essentially a place where there's also guidelines on how the wine is made. And so when you buy wines from that appellation, not only do you know that it's coming from a similar region or quite close by, it's also made using the same style. If you're looking for something similar but not exactly the same, you can try the same varietal and or the same appellation. So for instance, I love this bottle here. I've had it a few times. It's Chacolina. This is from Spain. It's like a really crisp, bright white wine, light-bodied. And there's, conveniently right next to it, a different Chacolina. So what I can expect from this is also crisp, bright, low alcohol. Let's check this guy. 10.5% alcohol. What was this one? 10.5% alcohol. So I'm likely to have a very similar experience with this bottle, even though it's different from this one, but it's gonna give a very similar taste profile, which is what I'm in the mood for. So if you're in the mood to try something new, this is the freaking fun part, right? This is what we live for. Now, I'm all for understanding. Life is busy, it's demanding, and sometimes you just want the wine to deliver. You want something that you know is gonna be good. But if you want magical experiences in wine, most of the time, you're gonna find that when you trudge into the new. And this is gonna give you the framework for how to find those new wines in a way that you're more likely to enjoy it. But let's slow down. The first thing you need to know is your budget. If you're gonna try something new, it's really helpful to have an idea of how much you wanna spend, because obviously you can spend anywhere from very few dollars to $100, $150, $500 on a bottle of wine, which I never do. Maybe I'll be there one day. So have an idea of your budget so that when you're going to explore, you can narrow your search. And an important concept to introduce here when we're talking about budget, obviously budget, we're implying what is the most you want to spend, but you need to understand your minimum spend too. And the minimum spending is actually not so much something that you control, or I guess you control it, but there is a minimum amount you need to spend on wine in order for it to be good quality, because you got to remember the winemaker usually sees 20 to 25 cents on the dollar. And so if you're going to spend $8 on a bottle of wine, the winemaker is going to see $2, $1.50. It's impossible to make good wine spending that little at the winery. You're going to be cutting all sorts of corners. You're going to be machine harvesting. You're going to be inoculating with yeast, which is actually not necessarily a bad thing. You might be adding a lot of things to the wine, lots of preservatives, lots of stabilization. There are things that you are going to do to the wine that is not necessarily good in order to meet this price point. The minimum spend amount is going to depend a little bit based on where you are geographically and where the wine is coming from. Naturally, wines made in highly sought after places, they get more expensive even just to make them. The land is more expensive, labor is more expensive, etc. In general, as a rule, I'd say the minimum spend is now around $20 a bottle in order to have a really good shot at getting something high quality. It used to be $15 even when we first started making these types of videos, but everything has gone up in price a little bit. Another factor to consider is where in the world you are. So for example, in the EU, if you're buying wines from other EU countries, you don't have to worry about import and duty taxes as much. The wine doesn't have to travel as far. There's less shipping costs. And so this concept of minimum spend can actually be a bit different. And often I've found that in Europe, you can spend closer to 10 euros a bottle and still get a really good quality wine. Once you have a budget in mind, and it's a reasonable one, i.e. you're not trying to spend $4 on a bottle of wine, it's time to start thinking about the occasion. Is the wine for every day? Is it for a specific meal that you're trying to cook? Is it to pair with a group dinner? Is it something celebratory? Are you trying to cater to someone that has very specific taste? All right, now let's try an example of this. All right, so my occasion here is one that can be nerve-wracking, which is dinner with the in-laws. Thankfully, I love my in-laws, but still I want to impress. So I'll spend maybe 30 to 40 bucks here. And I think I'm going to land on this guy because I was planning on putting a whole Bronzino in the oven. Here we've got an Assyrtiko from Santorini. So one of the most widely planted white grape varietals from Greece. It's $38. And I think it's going to pair beautifully with the fish. And I'll probably even pour a little bit of this wine in the basting liquid. Now let's talk about the mood and vibe. And if this sounds a little go with the flowy, it's because it is. Wine, at the end of the day, is meant to be something that makes energy flow. It's supposed to be fun. So when you're thinking about mood and vibe, is there a specific wine style that's calling to you? Are you thinking white or red, rosé, orange, yellow wine, which we'll talk about another time? Are you thinking of maybe something different, like bubbly or sweet or fortified? You can even think about it in terms of how weird do you want your wine to be? Do you want it to be different and funky and expressive, or are you trying to stay more in a chill lane that you kind of know what you're going to get and it falls within the normal bands of flavor profiles that you're used to for wine? If you're thinking about a specific dish, you can go check out our food and wine pairing video to get a better idea of the heuristics to use when you're going to pair food and wine. Today, I'm in the mood for something weird. In fairness, I'm often in the mood for something weird, but I'm going to show you how I shop for weird wines, and hopefully you can learn something from it. So one of the first places I start when I'm thinking about weirder wines is sparkling, because, you know, the old method of sparkling wine, Petit Naturel, Pet Nat, which you can see on here, Pet Nat, is sparkling wine that almost started as a sparkling wine that happened by accident. Now we know all the science behind fermentation and carbon dioxide, and if you bottle it, then the carbon dioxide doesn't escape. And so you can get some really cool, funky, weird stuff in the world of pet nats and sparkling. This is one that I love. It's a semi-sweet, semi-sparkling orange wine. It's a half-liter bottle, really delicious. So sparkling is a great place to start. Pet nats are awesome. So actually, I want to take this with me. So I'll just hold it. Next thing that I look for when I'm thinking weird, obviously you've already seen me pick a bunch of wines from off the beaten path places. So that's something I love to do. I also want some skin contact, so some orange wines, which I think I'm gonna make the crew fly with me if they can, or over here. So let's see if we can find something skin contact. So we've got a bunch of stuff here. Skin contact is white grapes along with the skins. So it's basically you're making like a red wine, but with white grapes. Here's an orange wine from Portugal that I've had and poured before that I really love. So I'm gonna grab this one. And then maybe we'll see if we can find something red that can over deliver for its weight. So maybe we'll try Austria. Oh, boom. Here's a Zweigelt from Austria. It's a liter, so it's a value. So kind of what I'm looking for is weirder places, weirder styles. So sparkling made in a way that's a little bit different than Prosecco or Champagne. Skin contact wine. So orange wine is something we're not really used to. I think I'm ready to check out. Once you're done and you're home, this is where the important work starts. Remember what you liked and why. Remember what you didn't like and why. Because it's your experiences with the wines that you've already had that will inform your shopping experience going forward. And I'm not saying be overly meticulous about taking notes and using an app to track things. If you do that, it's fine. But wine is meant to be enjoyed and it's meant to keep you in the present. And I think our devices pull us out of that present. So the important thing here is try to taste deductively and openly so that you're able to remember the wines you liked, and then you can go find more that are similar. Doing that will make your life a lot easier the next time you go wine shopping. Until next time, cheers. Is it weird that I just have a glass of wine all of a sudden? This video is sponsored by the Unpinned Wine Course. Welcome to the Unpinned Wine Course, your guide to wine from your couch to the world's vineyards. With over 4 hours of fun and easy to follow video content, a community of wine lovers, and downloadable wine guides with almost every chapter, we help you transform your ordinary everyday wine experiences into something extraordinary. I can't wait to see you there.